Job chapter 29. Job again took up his parable and said, "Oh, that I were as in months former, as in the days when God protected me, when his lamp shined upon my head, and by his light I walked through his darkness, as I was in the days of my youth, when the secret of God was upon my tabernacle, when the Almighty was yet with me, when my children were about me, when I washed my steps with butter, and the rock poured out for me rivers of oil. When I went out to the gate of the city, when I prepared my seat in the street, the young men saw me hid themselves, and the aged rose up and stood. The princes refrained from speaking and laid their hand upon their mouth. The nobles held their peace, and their tongue clave to the roof of their mouth. When the ear heard me, then it blessed me, and when the eye saw me, it gave witness. Because I delivered the poor that cried, and the fatherless, and him that had no helper. The blessing of him that was about to perish came upon me, and I caused the widow's heart to sing for joy. I put on righteousness, and it clothed me. My judgment was as a robe and a diadem. I was eyes to the blind, and feet to the lame. I was a father to the poor, and the cause which I knew not I searched out. And I broke the fangs of the wicked, and dropped the spoils out of his teeth. Then I said, I shall die in my nest, and I shall multiply my days as the sand. My root was spread out by the water, and the dew lay all night upon my branch. My glory was fresh in me, and my bow was renewed in my hand. Unto me men gave ear, and waited, and kept silence for my counsel. After my words they spoke not again, and my doctrine dropped upon them. And they waited for me as for the rain, and they opened their mouth wide as for the...
Oh, that I were as in the months of old, as in the days when God watched over me,
when his lamp shone on my head, and by his light I walked through darkness.
as I was in my prime, when the friendship of God was in my tent,
when the Almighty was yet with me, and my children were around me,
when my steps were washed with butter, and the rock poured out streams of oil for me.
when I went out to the city gate, when I prepared my seat in the street.
The young men saw me and hid themselves. The aged rose up and stood. The princes refrained from talking and laid their hand on their mouth.
The voice of the nobles was hushed, and their tongue stuck to the roof of their mouth.
For when the ear heard me, then it blessed me, and when the eye saw me, it commended me.
Because I delivered the poor who cried, and the fatherless also, who had no one to help him.
The blessing of him who was ready to perish came on me, and I caused the widow's heart to sing for joy.
I put on righteousness, and it clothed me. My justice was as a robe and a diadem.
I was eyes to the blind and feet to the lame.
I was a father to the needy. I researched the cause of him whom I didn't know.
I broke the jaws of the unrighteous and plucked the prey out of his teeth.
Then I said, I will die in my own house. I will count my days as the sand.
My root is spread out to the waters. The dew lies all night on my branch.
My glory is fresh in me. My bow is renewed in my hand.
Men listened to me, waited, and kept silence for my counsel.
After my words, they didn't speak again. My speech fell on them.
They waited for me as for the rain. Their mouths drank as with the spring rain. I smiled on them when they had no confidence. They didn't reject the light of my face. I chose out their way and sat as chief. I lived as a king in the army, as one who comforts the mourners. From PrayLamp, peace be with you.